so this is the second interview in the Women series. This is B.A.W.S. It's a little pet project I've had for over 5 years. B.A.W.S. B.A.W.S. Stands for Badass Women Succeeding. So it's a fun little project. I love to focus on the successes that women are having, as opposed to, you know, the limitations out there. It's like we all have limitations, and I really want to talk about like the strength in women and how they carry themselves in the business world and what works and what's successful. So the B.A.W.S. series, Badass Women Succeeding, it's a monthly interview. Was fortunate enough to be able to secure this interview with the real estate industry's icon, lady of the industry, a living legend, Marty Rodriguez. And so first of all, I want to just say that this is like, I haven't been this excited about an interview, and you guys know, just in different circles, I've interviewed all these really like high level people, but I've never been so excited and nervous at the same time. Because, you know, just from afar, I don't know if you realize like how many people really look up to you and admire you and kind of use you as a role model. Like when I grow up, I want to be able to accomplish what you've accomplished in like such a successful way. You know, #1 agent in the C21. Everybody knows who C21 is, but #1 year over year. How you've been able to successfully build a team. How many people you've helped in the industry in the 44 years that you've
44.
been. 44
Yeah.
years. So it's just an honor and it's a privilege. And I know that I'm not the only one in the room who's super excited. We've got, you know, over 30 people here, and we've got more people coming. So we want to go ahead and get started. I would love for you to just give us the part, you know, a little bit of a history in terms of, you know, starting 44 years ago. How did you get started? Let's kind of go through like the beginning chapter of Marty, if we could.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me here today, and you know, all the kind words that you just said. And yes, I take that responsibility of, you know, people looking up to me very, very, very seriously, you know. And I think we all saw that on Sunday when Will Smith forgot his responsibility. Okay, we need to know.
Oh, there.
You know, when
Daniel.
Oh, 1 second, please. I'm sorry. I think we had a little mix up here. Let's start that again. Megan, can you help us here?
where do we leave off?
Oh, just, you were talking about the responsibility. And Megan, if you can, just not allow people in the room if they can't be muted, so we don't get any interruptions. Go ahead. Let's get started.
No, I was just saying, I wanted to thank you for having me on today. And I do take the responsibility of, you know, I know that people look up to me and my actions are, you know, I have a responsibility to all the people that do look up to me. And I think that's really important. And I think that's what Will Smith forgot on Sunday, you know, at the awards. We've heard about this, you know, all week long. And when we get to a position where, you know, we become successful, we must take, you know, that responsibility very seriously to make sure that we help other people act correctly. You know, we are being looked up to. You know, and our actions are extremely, extremely important. So anyway, just know that I respect everyone in the industry, and I'm always looking to make this, you know, a better industry. That's very, very important to me. You know, I came from very humble beginnings. I was raised in El Monte, right off the Valley Mall, in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And my mom had 11 kids in 15 years. So there was 13 people in that house. And I think, you know, how did we do all that? And then when, you know, growing up, I mean, you know, cleaning houses, ironing people's clothes, shelling walnuts, making tamales, selling them. We did all those things. And you know what? I thank God for my silver spoon upbringing, because it's that upbringing that taught me how to work, that taught me that no is not an option. We had a speaker at our Century 21 convention. His name was Alex Benignan, and he was talking about the third door. Well, my whole life, I've always had to enter through the third door because, you when you wanted to do something, you wanted to be somebody. It seems like when you come from these beginnings, it's harder for us because we don't have the resources, right? So I was always entering through that third door. I mean, when I went to Bishopmont High School, I was working for Father Dorsey, the vice principal on the Neighborhood Youth Corps program. I worked at Roscoe's Five and Dime downtown El Monte, and then I was a cheerleader, and I got good grades. I'm thinking, how the heck did we do all that with all of us kids, And I remember Sister Magdala loaning me money to go to cheerleading camp because she saw something in me that, that she had faith in, and wanted to loan me the money. But most of all, it was a girl named Marianne Peters when I was a freshman. And, when you're poor, in fact, we had one closet in the entire house. At least we wore uniforms. We were in grammar school, but we were in high school. Monsignor says, I don't want my girls and boys to wear uniforms. He goes, I want them to learn how to dress. And so I think, like we didn't have a lot of clothes. And this girl, I was in ninth grade, and Marianne Peters said to me, they were all going out for cheerleader, and I was just standing there. And she says to me, Marty, you should go out for cheerleader. She goes, you're even cute. First of all, somebody tell me I was cute. And to go out for cheerleader was, expensive. And coming from where I came from, and I was working 2 jobs. But I did it anyway. I went out and, and I made it. And I opened the door for my sisters because then my younger sisters, followed in my footsteps. So 3 of them also became, cheerleaders. But when I was a head varsity cheerleader, my sister was going out for JV cheerleader. And I'll never forget this. When you talk about the third door, because we have to go in through the third door. We don't get to go into the first and second door. And so we went out, and I helped her, and then they said she didn't win. So I called Sister Magdala. I go, Sister Magdala, my sister won. I said, I know they cheated. And remember when in those days there weren't as many Hispanic kids in the school. So Sister Magda counted all the votes, and yes, they did cheat. And so my sister ended up being the fifth cheerleader because they only had 4. But I gave her a different experience for high school that changed her next 3 years of school, because when you're able to interact and be a cheerleader and have so many more activities, school is so much more fun, especially when you're poor, because that's what we look forward to, was going to the games and practicing. I still think about, how did we do all that, but we did it because we didn't know anything different. And the problem is that so many kids that get everything and have everything, they don't know what it's like to work hard. They don't know what it's like to prospect, pick up the phone. Like the other night, I went out and I told Jesse, I wanted to go out with my husband because I knew he wanted to go out with me. So I went out and I didn't want to have any drinks because I knew I was going to have to come home and work. So I came home and I worked at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I know I'm going to get the job done one way or another. And that's been my whole life, is, making sure I got the job done no matter how long it took. Because remember, when I started, there was no computers. We didn't have cell phones. We had pagers. So, everything was manual. And I can remember when I was starting to do well, working till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, we didn't have, the things that we have today. When I started with no computer. So that meant I had to go door to door. So I got to meet the people personally. I went on caravan, so I got to see the houses. So I do have advantage over a lot of these, young kids today, because you know what? I've been in those houses. I know what they look like. I can describe them from my desk. So, that's, and that's the difference. But I feel like kids today can do the same thing if they just work hard and study, and they can study through the computer, and they can study quicker, faster, and learn more than we did, in our time. So, every day I thank God for, how I was brought up, where I came from, and that's what made me what I am today. And I had, we had awesome parents. It was all, and everything was, for them, it was about you know, you go to church, you get good grades, and those were the only two important things to my parents. So when I was a cheerleader, you know, my parents never ever saw me ever because they didn't understand what that meant or what that was all about. But I don't blame them because they did a great job of raising us.
Wow. I'm a little speechless, Marty, because I didn't realize how, you know, first of all, you have such a large family, but how you all kind of made it work. And when we talk about you growing up, like you said, there was a different culture in place, right? For women, you know, for anyone who was in the Latino community, right? That was an entirely different set of obstacles and you know, stereotypes, if you will, or whatnot, to overcome and to be able to, you know, you talk about the third door, but like you made it to the front door and like red carpet, you know, status. So like how proud, you know, you must be, you know, just honoring, you know, your family, right? Your parents, the struggle that they endured, and then what they taught you, the foundation to really be able to like carry that and then also help your siblings, right? Like your sister. It's funny that you share a cheerleading story. I'm going to share a tiny bit because I tried out for cheerleading in high school. However, I was not able to because I had to pick between how do I get to school by a car versus do I pay $1,500 for a cheerleading thing, and couldn't do both, right? So I connected very much with that story, and so I really appreciate you sharing it. Once you graduated high school and like in your next couple of years, tell me like how did that next phase happen? Where did you go from high school? How did you end up opening the door in real estate?
Well, you know what? It was actually when I graduated from high school, I went to work at Allstate Insurance. So I was, you know, just, you know, I started, you know, at the bottom and, you know, in the files and worked my way to what was it? It was some kind of like typing, keyboarding at the time. That before there were computers, guys, they used to have these cards that you would punch and the cards would go in the computer, and that's how I would pick up the information. So that's, you know, that's what I did at the time. And then I met my husband when I was 19 years old. And, you know, and my husband's 14 years older than me. So, you know, that was really hard for my mom and dad that I, you know, me, you know, going to marry a man that was 14 years older than me and had, you know, and had kids. So that was, that was definitely challenging. So I got married when I was 20, but my husband was a really hard worker. He worked construction, heavy equipment, and then him and his mom and his sister had a restaurant in El Monte called El Sombrero. So he would work there, and he would work there at night and close up. And I think about like when Ed was working, he had just owned this little dilapidated house, and we rented an apartment. And so I said, you know, why don't we build a house on that lot where you have that house? So I went to the city of El Monte, and, you know, I'm glad I was young and I didn't know what I was doing, because sometimes if you know too much of what you're doing, you people will stop you because maybe you know too much, and I didn't. So I went to the city of El Monte and I said, I wanted to build 3 houses on this lot. It was a 15,000 square foot lot on the end of a cul-de-sac. Okay, and mind you, I've got to be, because we're already married, I've got to be maybe 24 anyway. So I go to the counter and the guy says, okay, this looks good. He goes, how many square feet are on this lot? I go, 14,900 and something. He goes, oh, I'm really sorry. He goes, you have to have 15,000 square feet. So the next year I told my husband, you know, Ed, I go, this is a really weird shaped lot. And there's no, on the map, it doesn't say how many feet there are on here. So I go, I'm going to go back again. I go, I'm going to tell them there's 15,000 square feet. So I go to the counter on the city and I says, okay, I want to build these 3 houses on here. The guy counter says, okay, how many square feet are on the lot? I go, oh, 15,000. He goes, hey, no problem. I just need 5,000 square foot per house. So we put it together and we built our first house in El Monte. It was about 1,100 square feet. I remember it was lath and plaster. We built it for $18,000. And then we started the one next door and we built that for $15,000 because I did that in drywall. And then we ended up selling that property to buy, well, no, first we bought the lot in Glendora. We bought a lot for $22,500, and so then we did all the plans to build that house, and then I ended up selling the house in El Monte. But when I told you that we built that house in Glendora, we built it. My husband's a backhoe operator, construction, and by the way, in 1978 we bought our own backhoe. My husband was a hard worker. He was as good as I was in real estate. He was as being a backhoe operator. So I negotiated with his company in Pasadena. He went to go work for a company, and I said, look, my husband will come work for you for, I go, you pay him $20 for an hour for his tractor, and you pay him $9 because remember, they're union, and union pays everybody the same, you know, and I don't care, you can kill yourself, but you get paid the same as the guy that's sitting there doing nothing. So I said, my husband will work for 8 hours, but you will pay him for 9. And I go, and he goes, well, I don't think I can do that. I go, you know what? Let me tell you, Mr. Kelby, my husband will come work for you for 1 week. You pay him 9 hours for 8, and you pay him $20 for his tractor, because he goes, I only want to pay him 18 and pay him the 8. I go, no. I go, he'll come for 1 week. If you don't think he's worth it, he won't come back. I knew they would take him. So he worked for them for 1 week, and then he ended up working for them for I don't know how many years. They were glad to pay him 9 for 8 and $20 an hour for his tractor. So, so I was already, you know, I was still working on my negotiation skills. And by the way, when I went to Catholic school, I was the best Christmas card seller, I was the best candy seller. I could outsell any kid in school since I was 6 years old. So I know that I was born with that gift of, you know, of being able to communicate, to sell. And I would be excited about what I was selling. And I remember my dad tried to make me sell, he sold Shackley products. So he would make me go door to door selling Basic H. I don't know if you guys, anybody knows about Shackley, but you have to understand that, you know, you have to sell something that you love and something that you believe in. And we used the product, but it wasn't the same as being, you know, and I was a little girl. So, you know, but I know, like I said, I know I had that skill. So I was able to negotiate that for my husband as well. And when I tell you that we built this house in Glendora, we built it owner builder. My husband, we have a retaining wall 150 foot long. So he had to dig out the mountain. And I can remember hanging from the rafters, painting that house. So, I mean, we literally, you know, did a lot of things ourselves at that time. And then when we moved in, I started selling real estate out here in 1978 for Century 21 office. And then eventually in 1989, I left there and I went to go work for another real estate, Century 21 down the street. And then in 1996, I moved in. I bought this building where I am right now. And we did the same thing here. We tore the building apart, revamped it. And then 3 years later, I bought the lot next door, and then we extended that as well. And we did all that owner builder with my husband and my son. So, you know, we are absolutely hard workers. You know, you have a vision, you know what you want to do, and you just got to make it happen. You know, and the problem with most people, they talk about what they want to do. You know, they're going to prospect, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. But you know what? It's like they don't get it done. And you know, until people change that mindset that, you know, you're willing to go the extra mile, you're willing to go through that third door, you know, to get in, I go, that's when it starts happening for you.
So Marty, it's so funny. I'm getting a picture of you as like that little girl, right? That yeah, like you were just relentless, right? To like get to where you were going.
Well, my mom used to say in Spanish, you know, Marta no se deja. In other words, Marty's not going to let anybody, you know, take advantage of her. And then my sisters, their boyfriends would come over and they would say, oh, here comes my sister Marty. She's going to interrogate you, because I would always be asking questions. So, you know, it was just, I think, a natural thing. But if you don't know everything about your client and everything about who you're working with, you can't help them.
I love that. You're like a why person. You need to understand like people and the why behind things. Don't just give me the short answer. I want to understand it, right?
Yeah. And when they know that you care, they want to do business with you. So
did you start in real estate by like purchasing and building, or did you start by selling?
No. I started in 1978, and my husband and I were came out to this area, and we had already bought that lot up in Glendora that was actually at that point just sitting there. And he and two other guys had saved their money from the restaurant, you know, like their tips and everything. And they had bought a couple places in El Monte, but he had partners. So when we were out here, and there was a realtor in the rain, and we're driving around, and she says, "Hey, can I help you?" And so we said, "Yeah, we're just kind of looking around." She goes, "Well, can I show you this property?" Anyway, she showed us the property where Costco is right now. Okay, Costco in San Dimas. So we ended up buying that property with those partners. And then through the years, we ended up buying those partners out. And now, you know, here's another thing. So I'm in real estate, right? So I'm selling properties, and this was Fifth Street. So I would try to sell properties there. The people would go to the city of San Dimas, and they would tell them, "Oh, that's part of the master plan. You can't do this, you can't do that." So what happened, it lowered the price of value of those homes in that street. So then the city came in with eminent domain, and they bought, you know, they were buying the properties. Well, I was like last or second to the last. So they offered me $250,000 for that property. So I said, "You know what?" I said, I can't replace this property. And it was industrial. My husband kept his equipment down there. I go, "I can't replace this property." I go, "You know what? I would try to sell houses on the street, and you would discourage buyers from purchasing." I go, "I think that's what you call price fixing." So we went to LA to attorney's arbitration, and I got $550,000 for my property because I opened that third door.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's the property that you said Costco's on now?
Where Costco is now. Yeah, we just had a house with a lot, and it was industrial. So my husband would keep his equipment in the back, and then we rented the little house in the front. And then we ended up buying another little over an acre on Allen Avenue, not too far from there, that I now have a house, and I have two big barns, two big buildings where they, you know, keep all their stuff and their toys and their tractors. So we replaced it with that property.
When you say third door, Marty, like the thing that comes to me is like you figure it out, right? Like that's where like you're gonna get there and you're gonna.
Well, because no is not an option. You know, somebody else would have said, "Oh, 250. Okay, I'll take that." No, because I figured it out. I analyzed it. I knew what I'd have to replace it with, and I couldn't do that for $250,000. So you know what? I just said what I had to say, and then we renegotiated. And at that point, I hired an attorney, and we got $550,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, porque Marta no se deja.
No se deja. No se deja. I love that. I love that. I've always been a little like young. They're like, "Oh, Rosie, like, you know, they used to say nosy Rosie." And I was like, "Well, I always want to know."
And, you know, and, you know, guys, I could tell the story all day long so many times where, you know, people said, no, it wasn't going to happen. In fact, I'm sitting in Jesse's office here, and she's been with me for 18 years, and she was 17 when she started. And I remember when she bought her first condo, it was during the short sale market. So I go, "Hey, how's it going with your condo?" She goes, "Oh, they said I didn't qualify." I go, "What?" I go, "We didn't qualify." I said, "Oh no." I go, "I'm calling another one of my lenders." So we called Pat Sepulveda, and Pat, Pat got her approved, qualified, and she ended up buying the house. I think she was in it for $220. Anyway, she ended up getting it for less. Remember during the short sale days when they would reanalyze them? So she bought that condo for I think it was $190, and then which today is probably worth close to $600. And then she ended up buying a house in Glendora that she completely redid. So those are the wins, is being able to help people. And you've done it for your clients when they were, either going to back out or going to lose something. You said, no, this is going to be good for you. You need to make it happen. So we guide them, we fight for them.
What was I'm just trying to picture myself, back when you started. What was one of the biggest challenges for you, Marty, getting into real estate and the real estate sales side? What was one of the hardest things, if there was?
Well, you know what? I think when I moved to Glendora, I think it was it's pretty white. I was Hispanic, and so was my husband. I think you have to work harder at that time to prove yourself. But you know what? You can't be bitter about that, because now you do business with all those people. you know, and now life is different. So our kids today are very fortunate that, you know, I think we live on, you know, on a more equal platform for everybody, man, woman, you know, everybody.
Mhm.
So, and in our days, trust me, it was way different. You know, you know what? I mean, I'm 71 years old. So I was
Yeah.
born 1950.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's also the majority of people were men too, right? Outside of color, there was
Yeah,
also...
and the majority of people in this industry were men. And I can remember people not wanting to credit me for my hard work. They say, "Oh, Marty gets all her business from her husband." My husband doesn't even like to talk to people.
Wow.
You know? Yeah. But you know, they didn't want to give you the credit that was due you, you know, but now things are different, and I'm okay with that. You know, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be bitter. I'm not gonna slap somebody in the face.
Right?
No. No.
It sounds to me like you don't really take anything personal.
You can't.
Right?
Oh my God. If I did, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, because, you know, when you're coming up through the ranks and you're not Marty Rodriguez today, you know, it was pretty brutal, you know? So, you know, and not only that, people know I'm like the real estate police. So people would, you know, say things about you. It's like, no, I'm just trying to make you do your job. Do what you're supposed to do. Don't talk about me. You know, why don't you do what I do? Maybe it'll work. Oh, you know what? And by the way, yesterday was a great day to be Marty Rodriguez. I got to tell you, I was at the office and I forgot something, and I had a meeting at 11:30. I go, I'm going to run home and come right back. So I run home. I'm driving not too far from the office here, and my phone makes a sound. So I pick up my phone and I look at it, and it's not a call. So I set it down, and as I'm looking at it, there's a cop right next to me, and it's LA County Sheriff. She pulls me over, okay, and she asks for my license. She's gonna give me a ticket, and then she comes back. She goes, "Oh my God!" She goes, "I pulled your plate." She goes, "You're Marty Rodriguez." She goes, "I'm Debbie Ikatani." She goes, "We used to do business together."
Oh wow!
So it was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was.
Did you get the ticket?
No. And I really wasn't texting. I just picked it up and set it down. So, yeah, but it was really funny because, and then I remembered her. She was a really good agent too, and now she was an LA County, you know, deputy.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. And she said she still did. She said she still did some real estate as well.
I think that goes to, you know, how you treat people, right? I mean, there's you know, there's a lot of different things that are done inside of real estate sometimes, you know, and when I say different, you know, it's just ways that maybe you weren't trained, you know, the proper way or whatnot, you know, but when you are on the other side of a transaction, I think it's really important that you remember that you might be on the other side of the transaction next time, right?
That's right.
And so it's a very small community. You've built your reputation because of how you handle your business.
Yeah, and right now I feel so bad because it's such a tough market, and you know, so many people are, you know, get disappointed when you have so many offers. It's, you know, it's not easy. But I will tell you, you know, how you do your business and the reputation you build and how you respond is important to us, because you might not be the highest offer, and we might go back to you and say, hey, will you come up higher? Because the way you conducted yourself and the way you spoke to our people and the information that you provided, as complete as you were, that's the person I want to work with. So
let me ask you a question that many women in the room might be wondering, right? How did you manage to, because you've been married to your husband for how many years?
It'll be 51 years this year.
51 years.
51, yeah.
So how did you manage to build such a successful business and still keep your relationship?
You know what? I think that, okay, so when I started working, I started with the partner, and then I broke up my partnership, and then I told my husband I wanted to get a housekeeper, and he was like, oh no, you can you know, clean house and work too. And so my broker's wife had a girl that was coming from England to work for her, but she hired somebody else. So this girl came from England and had no job. So she asked me if I wanted her, and I said, yeah, I want her. Now, and again, my husband's really going to get mad, right? So anyway, so I hired her, and he was really upset. But you know, she allowed me to, do my job and focus on, what I needed to do. So I started doing better. I started doing more business. And then pretty soon my husband said, hey, don't even make the bed, just go to work. Because when you're focused and you don't have all that other stuff to do, you've got more time to work and, focus on your clients, as I do now, because my daughter Shelly, runs this business. And then she's our broker and she handles our personal business. And then Jasenia McGowan is our sales manager, so she handles the agents. And then her sister Valerie is our sales support manager, so she handles the support staff. So all I do, I get to sell. I don't want to be an agent. I don't want to be the broker. I don't want to I don't want to pay the bills. I don't want to buy human resources. So my only focus is selling real estate. But remember, I had to start doing all that stuff. And then I started letting go a little bit at a time until, because as you can afford to let go. And then once you start focusing, things get better and more things happen. And, and my memory is like really good when it comes to my business, because that's all I think about.
So there's two things that come to mind. One is that, you had the foresight and also the courage, because a lot of women, I've worked with a lot of women and they're like, well, no, because if I'm not cooking dinner and I'm not doing the laundry, I'm not a good, wife or mother. And, how do you, do the clothes, laundry, dinner, and all that stuff, and then go to work? But you had the foresight of saying, hey, this is not the highest and best use. This is not going to change the world. It's not going to, impact, my family in a significant way. Washing the clothes is washing the dang clothes, right? So you had the foresight to say, well, the first thing you need to replace is all those little things.
Well, you know what? Men have a wife. We need a wife.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. The second thing that comes to mind, when you talked about delegation, a little bit here in building your team, but before we get there, you mentioned your family's in the business. How did that happen? Because sometimes, kids are like, hey, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna go climb my own mountain.
Well, you know what? When my kids were little, they would go because remember, no computers, guys. So we had to go door to door. So I would go door to door. 2 months we would just drop off flyers. And I made these crummy flyers on the copy machine, but it wasn't how crummy they were. It was that I was there every month is what people remembered. So then on the third month, I would knock on the door, and then I started meeting people in the neighborhoods. So I had probably 500 or 600, houses that I started with, and then, sitting open house every weekend, meeting people, because what? You guys can communicate today, on your computer, on Facebook, Instagram. We didn't have all that. It was only face to face. And I can remember doing like 25 escrows by myself back in the day. I had this little book, but you could only do that because we didn't have inspection. Our contracts were like 2 pages. So you didn't have all the work and and the rework that you have today. So as far as processing paper, it was easy than it is today. So like I said, I would have to get into the office, and then I have all these messages because somebody was taking the messages for you. I remember when I got my first cell phone, it was like this big. It was a box, and it was 45 cents a minute. And so, you were very careful not to talk on that phone very long. So, I've come a long ways, but I've also grown with technology because of the people that work, with us. Henry Ford said, I don't need to know how to do all those things. I just need to make sure I have the people that know how to do it for me. Because a lot of people my age out of the business, they didn't grow with technology. They didn't, they didn't learn. They didn't expand. So for us, I get anxiety thinking am I on all the websites? Am I here? Am I there? So that makes me nervous, to make sure that we're getting the exposure that we need.
Yeah. And then how did you
and my kids, I get to talk about my kids.
Yes.
So when Belinda came to work for me, she just started working in the office. And then I was like buried in paperwork. I was doing all my own paperwork. So then she started helping me pay my bills and do the paperwork. And then we got really close, and she was tough. She reminded me of me. She didn't let my kids get away with anything. I loved it. And so I ended up, she ended up moving into that house where Costco is, okay, that I had there. And then I bought her a little Honda. So I bought her a car so she was able to, you know, pick up my kids. So my kids would not, because the main thing, you had to make sure that your kids don't miss out. Your kids still have functions, they have sports, they have all the things. So my kids did all of those things. They didn't, I did not do what I did at the expense of my children. So I would show up for the game. I would show up for the karate tournament. I would show up for, you know, whatever it was at the activity they were in. So you can't take away from them either. Otherwise, they're going to hate your business. So my kids grew up helping me and watching how hard I worked. So, you know, now my daughter is the broker here. Shelly graduated from USC Marshall School of Business. So she runs our business, our personal business, and she's a responsible broker. And then my son, Sean, does all our IT technology, helps me with anything to do with construction. And I'm going to be building a house, so he's working on that. So, you know, we're definitely, we get to work together. We get to see each other because I'm a workaholic.
So you know, one thing that you mentioned here is that you got them involved and they saw you work and they were part of that struggle. And so they saw the successes too.
Right. And see what happens, a lot of parents, you know, they deprive the child. So the child hates the fact that their mom works in real estate or their dad works in real estate because real estate took their family life away from them. And we didn't. We did a lot of things together. We, you know, we had great vacations because, you know, I was able to afford those things. And when they were, you know, 16 years old, I was able to buy them a car because they deserved it. They had earned it. It wasn't just like, you know, they worked with me. And I got to tell you this story. So my son was going to be 16 years old. And I said, look, Sean, I'm really busy. I go, and I don't have time to go looking for a car for you. I go, so why don't you go, you know, with so-and-so and start shopping around for a ar. And then when you find a couple, let me know and I'll check it out and, you know, the price and what it is. So he knew what he wanted and he was going place to place and he goes, Mom, he goes, nobody will give me the time of day. They think I'm too young. You know, they're not helping me. I go, well, you know, just keep going. So he found this young kid that says, I'm going to help you. And, but he didn't find the car. Then he called a fleet broker that we knew. So the fleet broker found the car he wanted in that young boy's parking lot because the young boy realized opportunity and was helping my son, but he did not know his inventory. Got that, guys? Mm-hmm. He recognized opportunity, but he didn't know his inventory. So somebody else sold my son that car on his parking lot. And it's the same with the houses, okay? If you don't know your inventory, somebody else is going to sell your client. You don't take care of your client, somebody else will.
Just curious, how old were your kids when they started getting involved in the business with you, Marty?
Oh, they were little. They were going door to door to me in grammar school. So, you know, the deal was I pick them up from school. Them and a couple of their friends sometimes would come and they would pass out flyers and then I'd take them for ice cream afterwards.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I would park in the neighborhoods and we'd split up and we'd, you know, and we'd pass out because remember there was no computers, guys. That was our only communication that we had.
Did your clients ever share a comment or feedback on that?
What's that?
Did your clients?
Oh yeah. They used to they would see us and they knew, and that's why they were, you know, started giving me opportunity, and you know, I was able to list houses in those neighborhoods. That's because awesome. After a while, at first they don't pay attention to you, but when they see you over and over again, now they're paying attention. And it's just like, you know, what are they seeing you today on, you know, on Facebook, Instagram, email? How are you attracting your client, your reviews? You know, what do people think about you? Because I'll tell you right now, it's all about reviews. So you better be on it.
How did you get, Marty? How did you get to be like the #1 agent? Like, what does your day look like? What does a #1 agent? What does their life look like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, you know what? I don't know, but you know what? Since COVID, I think we work more. Don't you guys think so? I mean, we get up, we get on the computer. There's days like, oh my God, I got to get dressed. I got to get out of the house because I'm like stuck on the computer, you know? Or like at night, you know, I get on and it's like, okay, Marty, it's time to go to bed. You got to get your sleep. You're still like, you know, playing with the, you know, computer follow-up or something or cleaning emails. So, it's quite different because you know, everybody went home and we were all working remote. We brought some of the people back in and trying to get back in because I find when I'm prospecting in the office, I think I do a better job than even at home. Even though there's nobody there, I think I do a better job at the office prospecting. So find out where your best place is, you know, for prospecting, calling back, but doesn't matter where it is, you just got to do it.
Do you still prospect, Marty?
Yes, because you know, I'm fortunate now because, you know, I have warm leads. You know, when you start your cold calling and as you get better and better, you have, you know, warm leads, people that have called in the past that, you know, were looking to sell. So I'm, you know, doing follow up.
Okay. How many hours a day do you prospect?
You know what, there's no like specific, you know what, like Raquel, my assistant, she'll, hey, Marty, it's time to call this person, Marty, because I give her notes. I go, hey, I got to call so-and-so on this date, and I got to, you know, follow up on this listing. So she's reminding me, and then I have my own little reminders. But actually, I'm glad she's doing that now because I would still like forget to look, you know, and she's on it.
All right. So tell me about building.
Oh yeah, and by the way, you can prospect anywhere. I picked up a client at Subway across the street. I picked up a client at Costco. Okay, if you don't let people know who you are, that you're a real estate agent, I mean, you want to be the secret agent? No, you want to let people know what you do. So I was at Subway, and this guy, I can't remember if he recognized me. I don't know how I started talking to him, but he told me he had tried to sell his house in Azusa. This was a long time ago, and it didn't sell. And I said, well, you know, let me come over and look at it. I said, why are you moving? He goes, hey, he goes, we hear gunshots at night. I got to get my kids out of here. And this was way back when. And so I ended up selling this house. And then my brother sold him a house in Rancho. And then during the inspection, there was something wrong with the house. And he got mad and he tells my brother, and tell Marty not to call me because she's going to try to talk me into buying this house. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give him a day or two. I'm going to let him cool off. So then I called him, and I didn't try to sell him the house. I called him and gave him all the reasons why he was moving. I sold him on the reasons of the neighborhood and his kids, not about the house. He was moving to take his kids to a better school district where he thought the neighborhood was nicer. So he ended up buying that house.
That's awesome. Well, you're focusing on their
because
wife.
sometimes, because sometimes, guys, it's not just the house you're selling them, it's everything that surrounds that house, or maybe a reason. And you don't know where people come from, you know, different neighborhoods, you know, you might think it's a bad neighborhood, but you don't know where that person's coming from. Maybe that's better for them. So, you know, don't judge.
Awesome.
Remember, I'm from Almonte, so watch out.
And you had 11 siblings, so that's another thing, right?
Yeah, but you know what, and we all went to Catholic school for 12 years, all of us. But, you know, our dad was really, really strict. So he didn't really let us hang out with too many kids. It was pretty much you hang out with the kids that you go to school with. So he created an environment, but you can't do that today. You can't create those environments. You've got to hope that you've got your kids in the right areas, the right neighborhoods, the right sports, you know, surrounded by the right people. And, you know, you got to do your best to make sure that what's coming in there is what you want.
What are your thoughts, or what are your tips on like building a team? Because you've been very successful with that in your years.
I think I'm the pioneer of teams. You know, I started my team in 1990. I was working at this office in Glendora, and when I left there, it was not a good situation. Okay, because it involved my client and a deposit that they didn't want to return to him. Anyway, my client got the deposit, and then I just made the decision to leave. And it cost me a lot of money to leave. And I told my husband, it's going to cost me a lot of money. He goes, I don't care. He goes, leave. So I left, and I went to go work for another office down the street here. And they actually helped me and gave me like a little office. And then my brother came to work for me. And then Colleen, who started working part-time for me, came as my assistant. So that was the beginning of my team. And then I hired 2 buyer's agents. And then I think I ended up like with, I think 3. And, you know, that's really how it started, you know, and then Colleen would do all of the processing for us. And we still didn't have in 1990 as much, documentation and paperwork that we have now, but that started growing and growing where you needed more staff, more people, more, more to do. But yeah, so I am the pioneer of buyer's agents. I started, like I said, in 1990. And then, I had to create systems because really we didn't have a lot of real estate trainers. There was Mike Ferry. I mean, I remember going to a Mike Ferry seminar when there was only 50 people there.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it was kind of a trial and error, just, and I had already working by myself, created my own little systems that I had. And then I expanded that. And then, the age of computers came, and, now everything's computerized, paperless. And so it's great.
What do you think what really works well in building a team? What works really well?
Oh, wow. I can tell you, I remember hiring a guy. Oh, yes, I remember now. When I was at that office, I hired another assistant. And you know what? I'm not good at hiring. That's not what I was meant to do. And I hired this man that I've known for years, and he was horrible. He was going to be an assistant. So when we moved here, my daughter, Shelly, I actually went to a management training. It's called MAP, Management Action Programs. It's a management course that I took in Newport Beach, and I had the most awesome teacher. So I told my kids they had a different teacher. So I hired Kate to be my kids' management coach for 17 years, and she is amazing. And if you guys know Duke's restaurants, Duke's in Huntington Beach, they own 13 restaurants. Kate was also the coach for that company. So you can imagine the training that we got, with SE Education and, MAP, and Jessie and her sister have also been to MAP as well. So, I invested in them. They know how to hire and fire. That's not what I do. I don't want to do that because I've already tried that and I saw that. That was not good. I did not do a good job, hiring. So they know how to hire. They know what questions to ask. So I think that's what's most important. And then hiring agents that, believe in your systems, your standards, what the company stands for, because I'll tell you right now, I know what my company stands for by the way people view us in the industry. Because sometimes my agents get offers accepted because they work for Marty Rodriguez. They know that, how this, how our company works, and that, and that we do work, and that if it's going to happen, Marty's going to make it happen. I usually don't represent buyers, but I just sold a house to one of my lenders, and they had 17 offers, and it was listed for $925,000. And I sold it for $1.1 million, but they had an offer for $1,075,000 cash. I'll tell you right now, if I didn't know me, I would have taken the cash offer. Okay, because not only that, I had to get the appraisal. So they took their chances because I was the agent. So I closed it at 1.1, and believe it or not, I got that appraisal in too. And I worked with that. Appraiser to, he called me and to make that happen. So because that's what people know and believe about you. So what do they believe about you that they're willing to take a chance with you, whether it's your buyer, your seller, or another agent? What presence do you have in the marketplace? What have you done? What have you learned? Don't compromise your standards, because we don't. People, I know people sometimes think, that Marty's crazy. She wants this, she wants that. Well, sorry, that's what I want. And people know that. And that's why our transactions close. And when there's a problem, I know how to fix your problem sometimes. I mean, I've taken, problems that, give me the package. I'm taking it to my lender. My lenders are going to, try to save this, because if they can't, it's not going to happen. So
you always come to a deal, like whenever there's a challenge, you always take ownership of creating a solution, right? You want it to close.
Absolutely.
You're like angry, pissed off, like, hey, give it to me, I'll fix it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because and I can't tell you how many times we have done that in our time is taking somebody else's package and closed it for them, and they're fighting me. It's like, give me the package, I'm just trying to give you a paycheck. Yeah. I just want you to get paid too. So we're both on the same page. Just understand, I'm here to help you too. And it's like when people present offers and I can see, if you're new, just tell me you're new, because I'm going to help you if you're new. Don't lie. Don't try to pretend. Just be honest.
I have two questions, and we have a few minutes here, and I have two really, really good questions, I think, and I'd love to hear your feedback. The first question, what would be your best advice for women in the industry?
The best advice for women. I think that I don't see us in today's time any different than men. In fact, I think that we're more on the same playing level. But I will tell with some of these women, and so with the way some of these women dress, it's like, oh no, girls, no. Remember, Father Keeper, I want my girls to learn how to dress, because you're dealing usually with a family. We're selling houses. We're not selling bodies. Okay. So I think that's one thing that I would tell them is how they carry themselves, and to pay attention to the husband and the wife. I just sold a house over here, and it was a divorce, and the husband wanted to list with another agent. You know what the wife said to me? She goes, "That man disrespected me. He forgot that I was the owner of this house too. And he totally disregarded me, did not listen to me, did not look at me." And it's like, no. When you work with two people, they're owners, three people, I don't care who they are, you address all of them. I was working on a divorce, and he says, "Well, you come over." I go, "No, I'm not coming over unless your wife knows I'm coming over." I said, "Because I got to work with both of you." I said, "I want both of you to know that, I'm going to be there at the house." So I think that, as women or men, but I think as women, don't feel that you're less than anybody else or that you're inferior. I think that is the biggest thing, that women believe that about themselves. So guess what? If you believe it, it is. You know what? I have a picture in my office because I'm one of 11 kids. So there's 6 girls and 5 boys, right? And my mom and dad in the middle on their 50th wedding anniversary. And one of my clients came in and she goes, "Marty should be on the boys' side. Marty's like 10 men." I was like, I like that.
I love that you say that. I was having a conversation with a colleague, and I was talking about the B.A.W.S that we're doing, right? The Badass Women Succeeding. And I said, I don't want to sit in a room of women telling me why they can't do things. I want to sit in a room of women telling me, like, let's just talk business, right? We're business people. We're not like a woman, and we're not a man, and we don't have all these limitations.
Yes.
And like, look, you're a business person. If you carry yourself like Marty Rodriguez, you're gonna get shit done, right? To be perfectly honest. And so I love that you didn't look at gender, you just looked at what you had to get to. And that was, that's how you got to where you are. My second question, Marty, what are you most proud of, in the 44 years that you've been in business? What do you think?
You know what? I think the thing that I'm most proud of is, all the young girls that have crossed my path who are doing, awesome and well, and, and men too. But, I've actually probably worked with more women than men since I've, been in the business and, in our office. So that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of, is them and their accomplishments, and I know that I had something to do with it.
Your legacy.
Yes.
You created a legacy of like just incredible women, business women.
Yes. And I will continue to do that, When you see people, it's like, tell them that they're pretty, tell them that they're great, tell them that they're good, and if they're not doing well, say, let me help you, listen to me, let me help you be better, let me help you, whatever it may be.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much.
Definitely about empowering, women and men, because even, there's some men that, I've worked with that, I know that, okay, you're newer, you need some help, I'm here for you.
Yeah. I love that I mean, obviously, like, this is a feature about women because it is, Women's History Month, and whether you recognize it or not, Marty, you're part of real estate history. So, it's such an honor and a privilege to have you here. But
and I'm proud of my kids and my work kids, because these people that work here are my kids too. They've all done well, and like right now we have a really awesome team. So right now all my kids are good and nobody's in trouble.
What is next for you, Marty? Like, you've done so many great things. What's next for you?
you know, people ask me when I'm, you know, they're going to retire. I go, no. I go, when I'm dead. I go, I have too much energy. My dad was like this till he was 92 and a half. So, yeah, I don't know what I would do. I would probably go crazy, you know? Yeah. I need to, you know, that energy needs to go somewhere, and this is where it goes.
I love it.
So,
I love
and
it.
you know what? And I also, I try to watch my weight. You know, I don't want to be overweight, because when you're overweight, you lose your energy. You know, people get, you know, you're going to retire. You're going to sit home on the couch, and then pretty soon you can't even get off the couch. You know, you see it, and people don't move. So, you know, even when I'm walking around my house, they make fun of me because I'll be doing squats at the, you know, at the kitchen sink, or I'll be doing crunches on the floor. You know, I gotta,
Right.
you know, we got to keep moving. We got to keep our health, to keep our energy, because this business, I'm amazed how much energy we expend every day, even when we talk to people, you know.
I love it, Marty. I love it. I love it. Big fitness person, because this is your vehicle, and without this being okay, you can't serve anyone.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's the top of the hour, Marty. Like, we could probably do this all day, because you know, I can't even imagine all the things that you can teach us, but I'm just really honestly, like, it's an honor, it's a privilege. You're an inspiration. All the comments in here, it's very inspirational. Real estate royalty, you know, we heard it from Jamie.
Thank you, Rosie.
So many great things, and just thank you for being who you are. Thank you for carrying yourself the way you have, and thank you for being just a strong role model, you know, for men and women, and but especially for women in Women's History Month. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You know, and I love sharing, because, you know, it gives me even more energy. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to share today.
We'll have to invite you back for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.